What is up, Tube users, and welcome to another installment of Overwatch 2 Heroes, an in-depth guide. Today, we are talking about our first DPS hero and one of my personal favorites, Mei. Mei's passive is Deep Freeze, allowing her primary fire to slow down enemies from 30 to 40%. Additionally, after building up 26 continuous hits on a target, the slow will increase to 65% for 1.5 seconds. During this time, if Mei lands a shot with her secondary fire, it will detonate the slow and deal an additional 40 damage. With a solid understanding of Mei's passive ability, it's time to shift our focus to her potent weapon damage. Mei's primary fire is a beam weapon that deals 2.75 damage per tick. While this may seem like a low and insignificant amount of damage, it compensates with a rapid rate of fire, shooting at 20 rounds per second, resulting in an average of 55 damage per second. Her primary fire has an ample ammo capacity of 150 rounds, making it one of the largest among DPS heroes. However, being a beam weapon, it lacks the ability to headshot enemies and is most effective at close range, with a maximum range of only 10 meters. Fortunately, Mei's secondary fire offers a greater range and headshot capabilities. Mei's secondary fire for her endothermic blaster is a projectile-based icicle that deals 75 damage. The accuracy is pinpoint, so it will always fire at the center of the reticle. There is a small cast time for Mei's secondary fire at 0.4 seconds with an additional 0.4 seconds of recovery time. Each icicle shot also consumes 10 ammo, which allows for 15 total icicle shots before having to reload. If Mei's target is under the Deep Freeze effect, the icicle will deal an additional 40 damage for a total of 115 damage. This means if Mei uses her primary fire up to the point where Deep Freeze is active, then uses her secondary fire, she'll deal a total of 185 damage, and that's without hitting a headshot. With an icicle headshot, Mei can pretty much one-shot combo any non-tank hero in the game. While Mei's weapon gives her a ton of offensive capabilities, her abilities give her a lot of defensive capabilities as well. Mei's first ability is Cryo Freeze, encasing her in an ice block, granting immunity to damage, and clearing all status effects for up to 3 seconds. During Cryo Freeze, Mei also regenerates 50 HP per second and 15 ammo per second. However, she remains stationary and unable to use any other abilities during this time. By pressing the ability button again, she can cancel Cryo Freeze prematurely, catching enemies off guard. Although Cryo Freeze serves as a superb defensive tool for Mei, her second ability proves versatile, capable of both offense and defense. Mei's second ability is Ice Wall, which places down 5 large pillars in a 3x8 meter range. Each pillar has 250 HP in total and lasts for 5 seconds. An interesting thing to note is that the 12-second cooldown for this ability starts immediately after being used, not when the wall is destroyed. Additionally, the Ice Wall can be cancelled prematurely even while dead by pressing the ability button again. Before confirming the Ice Wall placement, Mei can also toggle the angle of the Ice Wall to be parallel or perpendicular to her. As we've seen, many of Mei's abilities are themed around cold and ice, and her ultimate is no different. Mei's ultimate ability is Blizzard, which deploys a weather drone that casts a freeze on all enemies in a 10-meter radius, slowing them from 40% movement speed to a maximum of 75%. After enemies remain in the blizzard for about 2 seconds, they will be frozen for the remaining 2.25 seconds of the ultimate. While frozen, enemies cannot move or use any abilities. The blizzard itself also deals 20 damage per second to enemies for a total of 85 damage. It's important to note that this ability is an arcing projectile, which means it can be absorbed by D.Va's defense matrix or Sigma's Kinetic Grasp and can be deflected by Genji's Deflect. Mei's Blizzard covers a considerable area, making it effective for area denial and crowd control. Now that we've looked into Mei's abilities, let's move into which heroes Mei counters and which heroes counter Mei. Mei is very strong at countering heroes that rely on high mobility because of her ability to freeze and slow enemies. Wrecking Ball is a tank that struggles against Mei due to her ability to slow him down, and her Ice Wall can hinder his movement and escapability. Another hero that struggles when fighting against Mei is Genji. He also relies on quick movement to dodge enemies and apply pressure to the backline. Mei's primary fire slows him and makes it more difficult for Genji to apply pressure to backlines. Also, since Mei's primary fire is a beam, Genji cannot deflect it, making him especially vulnerable to Mei's attacks. One final hero that Mei does well against is Lucio. Lucio is another character that heavily relies on speed, and with Mei's ability to slow him, this matchup is a nightmare for Lucio players. Now that we've looked at heroes that have a tough matchup against Mei, let's look at the other side of things and see which heroes counter Mei. As for heroes that counter Mei, most heroes that don't rely on their movement tend to play better against Mei. A good tank example of this is Roadhog. Roadhog doesn't rely on his movement speed and has high burst damage potential up close. And with the ability to hook players out of position with his chain hook, this matchup is not a good one for Mei. Another hero that plays well against Mei is Torbjorn. Torb is great at providing decent damage up close and from afar with his primary and secondary fire. Plus, with his turrets and overclock ability providing survivability and slowing potential, he becomes pretty much an even matchup when facing Mei. Another hero that does well against Mei is Kiriko. With her ability to cleanse slowed or frozen targets and her ease of escaping with teleport, Mei players have a tough time when facing an enemy Kiriko. Now that we've gone over some heroes that play good and bad against Mei, let's dive into some tips and tricks for this icy hero. A good way to get some verticality with Mei is to place the ice wall at her feet, allowing her to be raised by her ice wall. Her ice wall is also an excellent offensive and defensive tool, allowing you to block incoming damage defensively and blocking enemies from escaping offensively. Typically, I like to place my ice walls offensively, right behind an enemy tank, isolating them from their backline and ensuring that they cannot escape easily. Another tip I have is if you're going to use Cryo Freeze in the middle of a fight, try not to use it for its full duration. Most skilled players know how long Cryo Freeze lasts and will plan to attack accordingly. A good tip for when using Mei's ultimate ability is to use primary fire on any enemies inside of her ultimate. This will allow enemies to get frozen much quicker. Mei's ultimate is also a great zoning tool, allowing you to clear enemies off payloads or away from contesting the point in control. Another tip I have for all game modes is Mei's Cryo Freeze can be an excellent way to contest a point for a few seconds, which can give your team a chance to make it back to the point. Mei is also one of the best heroes when 1v1ing any other hero in the game, because of her ability to deal high offensive damage and to heal herself with her ice block. One final tip I have is the payload on escort maps and the robot on push maps will both grow through ice walls that are in their path. But other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did. Comment any other tips and tricks you have for Mei, and make sure to hit that subscribe for more content. I'm going to let the rest of this game play out, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
that rhythm.